You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for July 7th, 2026. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. We're back. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collections, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature to let us know that you'd like to ask a question yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by talking about not last week's, but the weekly title from 2 weeks ago, which was called Summer Days Drifting Away. That was from Greece, by the way, in case you missed the reference. The assignment was to make progress in at least one category of summer-related clutter. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook who worked on a summer-themed decluttering project this week. Please let us know in the comments. We received a few tittle reports in the form of comments on last week's YouTube video. Viewer Livmo2351 writes, I cleared out all the expired medications and reduced the number of sheets in the linen closet.
Which are excellent ones.
And viewer MKR7942 shared, packed a beach bag while listening to this and started a travel toiletry kit.
I love that. So the travel toiletry kit to me is a game changer if you're trying to travel, and the idea that you have a bag that's pre-packed with all your dedicated products in it so that you are not having to pull off of your counter the stuff that you use every day in the house, that you make the effort to buy the smaller version or to pre-package a portion in a smaller portion to go in your toiletry kit so that when it's time to go and do something, you just have to open it and go, yes, there's enough of the products in all my little containers and I'm done and I'm out. Down to travel set of tweezers and travel set of nail clippers and everything that you would want to take in your travel kit out of your bathroom, and you have a duplicate sitting in that travel toiletry kit. And that makes trying to figure out what's supposed to go in that bag under pressure while you're packing for a trip that's coming, doing that the night before is the worst possible time to do it. And so if you can have that thing pre-packed and it just goes on your trip and comes home, and all you ever do is stop to see if things need to be refilled, it will make your life much more, it'll make it easier for you to travel. It'll be much less stressful for you to travel. And, I think that's wonderful. And having a beach bag to go, awesome. Everybody needs to be able to grab their bag and have all the stuff that they want at the beach. And so.
Or the pool party.
Or the pool party. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So good job getting ready for the summer. Y'all are doing great. And, clearing out expired medications is always a good one to do because we always have way more bottles in there than we need. So good job. Everybody did good. Thinning out the herd. We like thinning out the herd here at the Clutter Fairy.
Jacqueline reports, I got a notice from my Kohl's credit card that my account had no activity for 3 years, and if I didn't make a purchase within the next few months, it would be closed. It's my oldest credit card, so I didn't want to lose it. I've made huge progress with getting rid of clothes I don't wear, so I decided to treat myself to a few new things. I needed some basic solid color t-shirts. They were on sale, and I got 5 for just under $25. Since I was bringing new things in, I thought it would be good to make another pass through my closet to see if there was anything I could let go of, and I found another 14 shirts to declutter.
Awesome.
That's great.
Love that ratio.
Five, five
5
in,
in,
14
14
out is
out.
really good. Those are good numbers.
That is excellent. Good job. Yeah, and I get the sentimentality of I've had this credit card for a million years. I don't want it to actually close. But, it also says something to me immediately that you have the card and you haven't used it. So that means you have not been out there shopping a whole lot at Kohl's, which, Kohl's is designed to suck you in, all the things that they do. So good job on you for staying out of the store. And, then you equated buying something, like you replaced things that you needed and you got rid of things that weren't going to work. And so you didn't derail your decluttering in your closet by going shopping to save your credit card. So love all that. And maybe it's something that once a year you have to go and buy some refreshed stuff and let some things go. And if as long as you do it in that buy a little, let go of a lot ratio, you'll be in good shape over time. Good for you.
Jane in California says, during the past 2 weeks, I switched out the winter sheets to new summer ones. The old ones will be dropped in the textile recycling bin at my local Target. They aren't in good enough shape to donate.
There you go. And that's what you need to be doing with them, right? And they'll end up in some, shredded project stuffed in something. It'll get reused in a way that makes sense. And you don't have to stuff them back into your linen closet. So good job, Jane. That's
CJ
great.
reports, I did a little edit of three categories: wardrobe, travel related, and personal care products. I've made a new rule to completely use up products before opening the next one, so I don't have several almost empty bottles of the exact same thing.
Isn't that the most annoying thing? And
That's a great rule.
right. And it's the first thing that I'm like when I'm in somebody's bathroom or shower or whatever, and there's like 7 bottles of basically the same product. I'm like, can we merge these, please? I just want I just want all those bottles to go away. And so that's exactly the thing. Like, and it takes a lot longer than you think to finish it off because the bottle starts to feel lightweight. And so you think there's nothing in there. It's like, no, there's actually stuff in there. It's going to take you a while to get to the bottom. So don't jump the gun and, drag it out for as long as you can and see how much you can get out of there and then go get the fresh product. It's not going anywhere. So you might as well just try to use it all the way up.
Anita says, I tried on all my shorts and skirts and got rid of the ugly ones. She
Ugly is
says,
good.
ugly on me.
Ugly
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
We don't
yeah.
want we don't want ugly, so good job. That's
Um,
excellent.
Pat says, I put a checklist in my travel cases, one for toiletries and one for basic packing. So important to remember meds.
Right? And that's a good like I said, if you're packing in a hurry the night before, the day before, you're gonna forget something. And so having a list is a great way to just you can just go down the list and go, did I get that? Did I get that? You don't have to check it off. You can just read the list one at a time. And when you find something you haven't done, go get it, come back to the list. Like it makes it much less stressful to pack when you're packing in a hurry.
All right, I think we should move on to our main topic because
We
with
got a
with
gazillion
with our
words up in here.
survey, we had an awful lot of content come at us really fast, which is a good problem to have.
You made us feel like you missed us.
A wise woman said you need to declutter your expectations of yourself. And I will go ahead and say now, I didn't want to put this in the promo stuff, but this was my therapist, my
Oh, said this to
psychotherapist,
you, right?
said
Right?
this to me, and she knew we talked about the fact that I, participate in a decluttering podcast. So I think but it was really clever of her to throw that at me like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write that down right this minute. And immediately started thinking about
And
how is this going to be a topic for a meetup? So the
then you have
suggestion,
to tell her we did it, and so now she needs to come and listen.
right? This suggestion felt like advice we should share with the Clutter Fairy audience. So
Mm.
today we're going to explore how real world experiences confound our expectations for decluttering and organizing projects, and how we can adjust our thinking for better results.
I can almost hear you thinking out loud right now. What do you mean by that, Gail? I read the comment, you need to declutter your expectations of yourself, and I heard this. You need to see the situation more clearly, more based in reality. without the rose-colored glasses that you used to be more comfortable about the work of decluttering and getting organized. Why? Because not being realistic and not being honest about what it will take in time and emotional resources is really a disservice to you ultimately. If your expectations about how a project will go and how hard it will be are not accurate, then you're going to start the work and get frustrated when the reality doesn't match your expectations. You're going to feel like you failed somehow because you didn't meet an unrealistic expectation, and that makes you feel bad about yourself. In the long run, that rosy expectation you had just turns against you instead of protecting you. Our own guardrails can sabotage us too. You expect the outcome to be perfect, which is a completely unrealistic goal. You expect the outcome to look like a Pinterest board, which adds so much more pressure onto an already difficult project. It's an image version of protectionism. You expect the declutter project to create more space that is easier to clean and to find things in, but that gets overridden by the worry that you might need it someday, and that sabotages your project. Overall, you have a more negative experience while doing the work because there's a disconnect between planning and execution. The planning is inadequate to the actual work that's needed, and the result is you get frustrated very quickly. Here's the bottom line from my experience of the work for all these years. To undo years of living a certain way takes way more time than you want to commit, but that doesn't change the amount of time that will actually be necessary to do the job. The job will be emotionally confronting in ways you cannot even imagine. You'll need to account for managing your emotional responses too, not just the amount of time it's going to take. The job will be very physical and it's going to require lots of energy and stamina. And you can overdo and hurt yourself or spend more energy than you have to spare and wear yourself out. Any successful plan to declutter needs to face these realities and account for them so you can do the work with all the resource management needed to actually get the job done. Based on this topic, we sent out a survey, of course, and asked all the ways that your expectations have been blown by your organizing projects. And you guys totally served it up. Everybody had stories to tell about ways projects failed, surprised you, got derailed, fell apart, failed to get started. It was awesome. I love when our audience shares so much about their journeys with us. It's so helpful to everyone, and we seriously mine that material for today. So, are you ready to get into your responses? Let's get going on that.
Okay, so our first survey question was describe an organizing project or task that you left incomplete because it wasn't going the way you envisioned. What expectations had you set that you weren't able to satisfy? Brenda says, the task left incomplete right now is getting the stuff I'm not using boxed up and ready to donate next weekend. The expectation was that since I had not used these items, it should be easy to part with them. I feel like a deer in the headlights looking at these boxes. So the only thing that comes to mind is one item at a time.
So, you set a deadline to be done, which was next weekend, and then you picked the pool of things to donate, which was things I haven't used, but you found it wasn't easy to donate them. The expectation that not using them would break your attachment to their usefulness and make it easy to give them up has proven incorrect. And I think this is your roadblock. You tried, I haven't used them as a criteria to donate, but clearly you still have attachment to the item. So you need a better algorithm. And I would add that donating several boxes is too big of a shock to the system. So try 2 boxes first, or find 10 items or 15 items that you can donate. Then take those and stop for the day. You can try another round in a couple of days. And like you say, one thing at a time. That's your version of one thing at a time. I think that you didn't account for just because you haven't used it wouldn't mean that you don't still have an attachment to it.
Yeah. I want to repeat that particular line because I think that probably resonates with a lot of people.
Mm.
Um, the expectation was that since I have not used these items, it should be easy to part with them. And
And no.
right. And so that's an unrealistic expectation that perhaps more of our viewers share.
Right? And it's so baked in, right? It's just so, oh, this is going to be easy. And it doesn't account for any of your emotional response to the things and how long they've been there and who they came from and what you were doing when you got them and all of the ways that personalize and attach those things to you, aside from just being stuff in your kitchen. And so,
And how draining the active decision making is.
yes,
So
exactly.
the expectation is it's going to be easy. Well, even if it starts out easy, it's not going to end up easy.
Because you're going to find some things that you didn't remember or find some things that are shocking or all of the ways that, all the ways that the project throws emotional, grenades at you when you're not looking, right? So you have to account for that. And I think that your solution of one thing at a time is a great response. And I would say aim small and try for a little bit of movement and get those things actually donated, like taken away and given up, and then live with what that's like, and then come back and do some more so that you're not trying to face the whole kitchen at once.
Okay, Linda says, moving into a new, smaller place with far too much stuff. Now I'm overwhelmed and can't seem to start. I had hopes in my head of how we would organize our new place. Hasn't happened.
This is a classic expectation disconnect that I often see. Clients reduce their square footage by half or by two-thirds in the downsizing process, but they don't do the same to the contents. You can't move into a 50% smaller place with 75% of your belongings and expect everything to fit. Each room is smaller, the storage is smaller, the room count is smaller. The reduction in home size must be matched by the same reduction of belongings and reconfiguration of furniture too. You're not just changing your house, you're changing your furniture, decor, and storage as well. Everyone takes too much with them. So the trick now is to finish the contents reduction. Get rid of furniture that doesn't fit. Trade out a too big sofa for a smaller one that fits in the new living room. Keep 2 out of the 10 bookshelves you brought and get rid of more books. Get your clothes down to fit in the actual closet that you have. Reduce the kitchen contents to fit the new kitchen. You don't have to start with organizing. You need to start with removal. Remove anything that isn't exactly what you need in the new space. You'll be giving up things that you like. That's why they made it past the first round of donations that you did before you moved. But liking them won't make them fit in the space. You have to keep what you like best and give away things that you can't reasonably fit in the space. And it's the bargain that you have made by choosing this new smaller space. And it's how you have to adapt. It isn't just that I'm going to cram myself into a smaller space. It's that I have to now make the decisions about what can stay with me and fit, and I can still function in the house. And if you are crammed in and overwhelmed, you're in good company because everybody does that. And the only way that it works better is when you move to a bigger house, but then you just spread it out into bigger piles. So if you've made this downsizing choice and you didn't downsize the contents enough before you left, now you're just not finished with the job. Now you're doing it on the back end and you have to subtract until you feel comfortable with the volume of stuff that's in the house. And everybody does this, so don't feel bad.
Okay,
And everybody
Kim's
thinks that they can get it done before the move happens, and then they get down to the end and they realize, oh God, I've run out of time.
right. Kim says that the project that she had trouble meeting expectations was boxing up framed hockey photos of my son to put in my storage locker. We are estranged, and it is too emotionally painful for me to box them up.
So the expectation here is that removing the old hockey photos makes sense because he's grown up and, maybe she's clearing out a kid's room or something. And so there's pictures of him in school and there's several of them up. And so she's like, okay, I need to take those down. Like they don't work as decor anymore, or they don't work with how I'm going to set up the room now. And so she started with this very practical idea of I need to box up these hockey photos of my son. But then, they also represent a lot of painful emotion because you're estranged. And so you can try to change the expectation in a few ways that might make it easier. And the first one is to box one picture a day. So just have a box there and take down one at a time and put it in the box and walk away. So you don't have to do you're not trying to pull 15 photos down at once and put them in a box. Another is to box all but one photo so you can leave a favorite one out so that you're choosing the representative sample. Like you have all these pictures of him in hockey uniforms and you pick your favorite one, and then you're making a plan that one picture becomes part of your decor. So it's not part of the original setup of all the photos that was put in place probably when he was living there and a kid. But you can declare that having one of those photos out is part of your history that you'd like to be able to see, and so you can pick one and plan to display it somewhere, and then the rest of them can be boxed because you picked your favorite one. The third suggestion is that you can box them but store them in a closet in the house instead of using the storage unit, because maybe the idea of removing them completely from the house is ramping up your emotional response of loss a little bit. Because putting them in, like taking them out of the house and putting them in a storage unit is more removal.
Right.
It's a different level of removal. And so it might help if you can box them and keep them in the house instead of, so you still accomplish your goal of pulling all these old photos down, but you're not actually moving them completely out of your house. And so maybe that would feel better. It's just some examples of trying to manage the emotional pain that you're feeling around these pictures. I get why you want to reclaim the space and you don't need all those photos up anymore, but you also have to manage how painful this is. So see if any of those help you do it and come back and tell us how it goes.
Okay. Let's move on to our second question. We may come back and take some more responses to that first question, but let's move on first.
Okay.
For our second question, we asked our viewers and listeners, how do your initial expectations regarding the time, energy, and emotional effort needed for a decluttering project usually compare to the reality of the actual process? An anonymous respondent said, it's always much longer, more complicated, and physically and emotionally demanding and exhausting than I anticipated.
And therein you've described why I have a job. So now you know, and you can update your expectations around the project and take your first estimate of how long that you thought it was going to take and then double it and plan for double the time and energy you think it'll take. If it takes less time, great. Then you get out of school early. Like you get to be done in a hurry. This is just like a renovation project. Don't plan for the optimistic and if everything goes right timeline. Plan for there will be problems timeline instead, and rejoice if you finish sooner. I mean, this is everybody's biggest problem, that they think it's going to be so easy to unpack a lifetime of stuff being parked in ways that are chaotic and not functional, and that you're going to have to unwind all that stuff. It's going to be super fast and easy. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's going to be way more than you think. And so just plan for way more than you think. If you don't have an image in your head, or your image seems, oh, this is going to be fast and quick. Like, yeah, okay. So if you're lucky, it will be. But plan for something worse than that. And then if you get done sooner, bonus on you. Right? You win and get out of school early. You got the test done faster. But if you plan for something bigger, then if it becomes something bigger, you already have adapted for that situation and you can accommodate it without giving yourself a bunch of negative emotion about it, without giving yourself a hard time about it.
I chose that one to go first because it echoed what so many other respondents said.
Yeah, it was a very good one.
Yeah. Anya said, I can achieve a lot, but never really finish decluttering. So I guess the expectation to finish any decluttering fully is just misleading in general.
I think the short answer is a backlog project can be done to completion, and there's always ongoing maintenance to be done. So there's decluttering that needs to be done ongoing to stay ahead of the new buildup forever. That is true. And you continue to live and have a life, and you continue to get things in and take things out, and life, you're not sitting on the couch doing nothing at all. So there is a level of maintenance that's required to stay on top of it. So we do the backlog project and clear out a bunch of excess, and then we get our sort of like we get to our set point of where we want to be, and then you have to do the work of I live in this place and I have to keep ahead of new stuff building up. And so there is a finite backlog project, and there's an ongoing, ever evolving maintenance job because you are not a static person doing nothing. You are breathing and living and moving around and receiving. You have an existence on the planet that has movement and stuff that goes with it. And so you can't make that decluttering go away forever because you are continuing to live. If you want to declutter your house and then be cryo frozen vacuumed somewhere, then yeah, your house isn't going to change. But otherwise, I think there's an amount of stuff that you're going to have
I,
to constantly be doing
I
forever.
think if you ever feel like you've gotten your decluttering project entirely complete, you just have to have yourself stuffed and turn your home into a museum.
The museum to my
Yes.
life. Here
Yes,
it is.
exactly.
Thanks,
Okay.
Anya.
Jean says, I have adjusted time spent to my physical ability. I have learned to take consistent small bites.
And that's a great adaptation of your expectations to what's realistic for your physical ability. I think that is one of the things that we remember how long it used to take, and we save that expectation as still our reality, and don't account for I'm slower, I'm not as strong, I don't have as much stamina, I don't have these illnesses, I don't have this compromised uh, feet, heart, back, whatever, fill in the
Knees,
blank, knees,
ankles.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, 100%. And so I think this is one thing that you just have when you have age, as you age, you have to, adjust your program plan for the new resources you're working with, and your resources are compromised compared to the 20-year-old you. So there you go. You're also
Um,
smarter and able to plan better than the 20-year-old you. So, take that into account too.
I'm going to throw you a quick curve.
Uh,
And this is one that came in late, so I didn't see it when I was collecting the other day. But Teresa said, "I think I can do way more in a day than possible." And I don't know who said it. Maybe someone in our audience can tell us. But someone said people tend to chronically overestimate what they can get done in a day and underestimate what they can get done in a year.
that is so true.
So people overestimate, the it's right here in front of me and now I have to do it part of the project, but underestimate the cumulative effect of chipping away day
Of
after day
slow and
or week
steady
after
wins the
week.
race, right?
Right.
Yeah, of being the turtle. Yeah, and I think, it's not unusual for us to want to focus on it once and hope to get the whole project done while we're focused on it. And we plan that we're going to do all this stuff in one day, and then we're going to be able to walk away from it. It's like, yeah, no decluttering project I know. Some portion of a decluttering project can be done in a day, but no full project can be done in a day without massive, massive resources. And you are one person with one energy level, and there's so much free time and energy for the day. And so thinking that you're going to plow through an office that's been neglected for 5 years, and you're going to come up on the backside having made all the decisions and fixed all the stuff and taken all the things out. No, you're not. Because you start the day with full energy, and then you burn that energy all day long, and you stop and take lunch breaks, and you have to go to the bathroom, and you start with your best possible energy level, and you burn it all day long. And so the results that you get in the morning are not the same level of results that you get at the end of the day. You're running out of steam. You're not making as good decisions. You're not, your brain isn't firing in the same way it was as when you started. And so, yeah, that is not a realistic expectation. And I think, we want to be done. We want this project not to take as long as we think it's going to take. And so the idea that we are going to finish it all in one day. Everybody makes that, everybody has that wish and that thought. You are not standing alone in that place. Let me just say that. And it's a mark of your evolution when you start realizing, okay, here's this big project and I want it to be done. If I tackle it today, I want it to be done at the end of the day, but I can look at this and tell this is not going to go that fast and I need to account for that. And it's a mark of your evolution that you think that at the beginning of the day before you start the project instead of at the end of the day when you
Right.
realize that it didn't come out like you thought.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on. Rosalind or possibly Rosalind, I apologize. I don't know
We don't know
which
which, yeah.
pronunciation is right here. Says it is taking a long time and is more emotional than expected. She's talking her project. I should have said that her project is she's working on 50 boxes collected over 45 years of teaching and other community projects. So she says these boxes were mostly filled at the end of each semester. I taught at several colleges, but also include any clutter from that time. Just went through a box from 1990. Can I still use coupons that say no expiration date? Most boxes contain one or two gems, so I can't just dump them without going through the items.
So you have an expectation that finding all the gems is necessary. Like you said, I can't just dump them without going through the items. So you could give up finding the gems to take less time and to have less emotional struggle around these boxes. You're worried about missing out on something, but you didn't know anything was in there before you opened the box and your life was fine. Coupons only work if the company still exists and they're still willing to redeem the coupon. You'll have to go to the stores and try them, which is more work, just to get a coupon value off of something. Is it worth your time and emotions for 1% of the box? If you feel that it is, then just settle into a longer project timeline. You got 50 boxes to go through, so it's going to be a long slog. But with that many boxes, I'd evaluate how long each box takes against how badly you want to move forward to the next thing. And leaving them undone is not an option because they'll just continue to bother you. What larger chunks of things can be quickly tossed? Course materials, test papers, support books. See how you can make broader decisions on bigger chunks of the paperwork and shortcut your way through the box. Or the radical choice would be to open the box, quickly make sure there's not something that isn't college related, like isn't course related. There's not a personal photo or some identification in there that you're worried about. And then just dump the whole box. Like set yourself a time limit. I can look through this box. I got 15 minutes to spend on this box. I'm going to spend 15 minutes and then whatever I get out of there is what's out of there and the rest and it all goes. Because you don't want to spend 3 hours each box. You don't want to spend 150 hours of your time right now on doing this project. It's just a collection of stuff. And so anything that you can do to shortcut that for yourself, even though you feel like you're sort of having a review of your life by going through all of these things. I get that part. Like it's clearly it's a box history of your professional life. And so it's a big list. But you've also stated in other parts of the survey that you really want to be done with this project and move on to the next thing and like be forward thinking and not be going through all this stuff. And so this is a project that you have to change the way that you're filtering, not filter it so hard, not filter it so precisely.
Okay, Pat's got a hand up, so I'm going to let Pat chime in.
Okay. Hi, Pat. Eh,
Let's go on. Pat
oh,
might be having trouble. Maybe
yeah,
the way
yeah.
I've got it set
I,
is.
I
Oh,
did,
no.
Oh, there we go.
did
Okay,
it
There
go
go
she
ahead.
through
is.
now?
Yes,
Okay.
go
Yes.
ahead.
Just real quickly, when I go through a box of stuff, like my husband has all of his tools just jumbled in boxes. We don't go through it like pulling out one at a time and making a decision. We dump the whole box like on the table and
Yeah.
then start sorting it into categories like this is trash, and it just seems to go much faster that way.
If you just dump the whole box out.
Yep.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do that at a job site. Now, paperwork is a little bit harder, but you can certainly lift out and sit all the stuff on the counter and,
Right.
and maybe rifle through it quicker and then, start chunking. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Fair point.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to go on. An anonymous respondent said, now that I've done a deep first pass, I always think it will be easier and faster to go deeper on the next pass. And because the decisions are harder and often more emotional, it takes longer to make small progress. That frustrates me because I know I need less to be successful in keeping
Mm.
up with things like cleaning.
And actually, you have it backwards. The first pass is the easy wins, the fast decisions, the obvious trash, the things that are in the wrong room and need to be relocated. It always makes a huge volume reduction. And it's why I always start there with the client so they see a big win up front. The second pass, after all the easy stuff is removed, takes longer because now you're dealing with the harder decisions that require more thought. There's less stuff, but it's more challenging to manage and decide about. Just plan and expect the slowdown. Be excited for the productive first pass that makes a big chunk of it go out, and then lean into the decision making work of the second pass. More will go, your work mode just becomes different in tone. It stops being easy and mindless work and becomes more thoughtful and evaluative work. The reason it didn't go out in the first pass was because you started thinking about it and going, oh, I have to make a more difficult decision here, so I'm not going to pick it up on the first pass. So the quick, not everything can be quick and fast, and the quick and fast stuff gets done in the first pass. And so then you have to go back and do the part that, you do the 30% that takes 80% of the time, because you have to actually think about what it is and what it's saying to you and why you're keeping it and why you may not need to keep it and why you're emotionally attached to it and why it feels bad to let go of it. And like, there's all this stuff that you have to unpack around the item that isn't all practical. Some of it is just your emotional response to the item, your knee-jerk response to keeping it without thinking practically about, do I actually need to keep it? And if I do, am I actually going to use it? And if I do, where am I going to store it and how? And so there's a whole bunch of work that goes around. Now I'm down to, am I actually keeping it and how am I managing it? Or do I still need to think my way through my emotional barriers of releasing it and decide to let it go anyway? And so it's the second pass is harder. It's not easier. And so you had that experience of getting a whole bunch done in a hurry and being excited and thinking it was going to be easier again. It's like, no, you filtered all the easy stuff out. It's sort of like, all of the, you have a sieve and all of the thin grains went through and really quickly, and then you're left with all the bigger, larger chunks that are harder to manage. And this is the declutter version of that. So you just had it backwards. Your expectations were just reversed.
Okay, Kathy says, I find it very easy to declutter a junk drawer. Have gotten to the point where it's easier to declutter sentimental items, but I find it very hard to deal with aspirational clutter. Within the past year on Redeeming Productivity podcast, I heard the podcaster explain why decision making is so hard this way. He said the Latin root in decide, the side, means to kill. When we decide something, we are killing, in quotes, killing all other options for that
Mm.
item or that use of our time, etc. To declutter aspirational items means I have to essentially kill the option of making the pattern or using the fabric that at some point I had liked enough to buy and bring home. That has helped me understand why I have a hard time with it, why I'm having a hard time with it. Craft supplies are like candy to a creative mind.
Just remember that you're killing, air quotes, you're killing that one option, but you can still do 1,000 others that you haven't thought of yet. Plus, you could go back to that option in the future. And your ratio of great ideas to executed projects is like 70-1, maybe, right? So those missed options are baked into your life. You won't realize them all no matter what. So even if your craft room was organized, even if you had space for everything, you're still not going to realize all of the options. So just accept that some of them are not going to come to pass. Keep your favorites, make them fit in the craft room, and release the rest out to some other artists so that because you're going to keep, like, you have a creative mind, right? You're going to keep having ideas of things to do. You're going to keep being inspired by things to make projects, and you can pursue those. And in the meantime, you don't have to be drowning in the other 70 projects that are never going to come to pass. So get your room down to the ones that are at the very, very top of your list, and make space for those and make them fit. And just release the options that are not going to come to pass, and know that your brain is not shutting down forever when you do that. You're going to keep coming up with and having new ideas and creating new options, and buying new supplies, and there's going to be things happening in your head forever. So you don't have to worry about running short. And accept that you're going to we all have way more ideas of things that we are going to do and have and be than we have time or effort to execute. They cannot all come to pass. We cannot be all of the things that we ever thought that we would be, just because you don't have enough time to do it all. So yeah, some water's going to go under the bridge, and you're not going to have swum in it. And that's just living your life, right? That's just how it is.
Okay, let's move on to question number 3.
Mm.
For our last survey question, we asked what real world factors tend to interfere with your decluttering and organizing tasks or projects and keep you from meeting the expectations you've set. Brenda said summer has hit 3 digits here and the AC is dead.
Retro. This is not a time for big projects right now. If you have a huge temperature and no AC, yeah, it's physical enough and hot enough work to do without AC. So I think you need to do a sit down project that requires no movement at all. It might be a good time to sort some paperwork or something like that. Ugh.
Linda says, my husband's health issues take a lot of my time and energy. As his caregiver, I get tired, look around my house, and feel overwhelmed and discouraged.
We expect to be able to become caregivers around along with everything else that we do, and it's really it's unrealistic to think that caregivers give up their lives to do it. It's not a surprise that you have no energy to do stuff around the house. You need some help, either with the caregiving or with the house. Caregiving is a profession for a reason, and people get paid to come and do it for a reason, because it takes a lot of time and energy. And if you are the baked in, I'm married to this person, or this is my child or my parent, and you're the baked in caretaker, then you're giving over a huge amount of your energy and focus to being that caretaker. It's not, just an extra little side gig you got going on, right? It's a big project. It's a big suck of your energy and time, which you can totally commit to doing, but then expecting that you then have the same amount of time and energy to do your house and do decluttering and whatever is not realistic. You've changed the direction of where your energy is going. And so that means you need some help. You either need people to take some of the caregiving away from you so that you have some of your energy to direct somewhere else, or you need other people to do the stuff that you don't have the energy to do because you've surrendered all your time and energy to caregiving. It's a very realistic. This is a way that people don't take care of themselves when they become caregivers. They think they can just add caregiving in on top of everything else, and it's not going to be too overwhelming. And then they wear themselves out, they burn themselves out, they make themselves ill and get hurt because they're trying to do stuff that is way out of their physical and mental capacity. And we take on too much that way, and it's the way that we get burnt out.
JM also mentioned caregiving. She says, the everyday tasks of real life, plus caregiving and lower energy levels from lack of sleep, slow my progress.
Mm.
I have learned great strategies, though, so I'm no longer paralyzed by it all. It just still feels like too much, and I'm concerned it's robbing me of precious opportunities to enjoy other life pursuits.
I would listen to yourself about that and get help with caregiving and the everyday tasks and your decluttering projects if you can. You do not have to do any of those jobs alone. And so you recognize you have lower energy levels, lack of sleep. There's things that are taking your time and energy and making managing it all too much. And you've adapted on some level, but it is distracting you from other pursuits. And so if you want some of that time and space back, it is about getting help to do something somewhere.
Okay, I want to take a moment to address some comments from our live audience
Okay.
before we continue. Um, CJ says, I have a pile of donations of things I haven't used, don't even like, and yet I can't just donate them. So it's that same struggle.
Mm-hmm. And it is, I don't know how to say this exactly. It is a roadblock if people make a huge pile of things to donate in the corner somewhere and it gets really big, and then the idea of giving away that much stuff all at once becomes very overwhelming and derailing. And so I would not try to give away all of it at once. I would go take a little bit of it and try to give away a little bit of it and just do a little bit at a time and see if you can't make it go out of the house that way. Because I also think that if people haven't donated stuff in a while or made the actual physical trip to drop off and come home without it, if they haven't done that in a bit, then the anticipation of what it's going to be like to do that feels way bigger than the actuality of it. And so they anticipate that it's going to feel terrible and they're going to feel terrible after they do it. And then they do it and have the experience that it's not as bad as they think. And so you kind of have to give yourself a practice run and take a little bit of it and donate it and then realize how little you think about that stuff the following week. And when you realize that you gave away those 5 things and you don't remember them, or it's not, you don't feel sad about it now, that then you can try, 5 more or 10 more or a box or a bag and take another collection away. And, just separate yourself from it a little bit at a time.
Catherine says, my biggest expectation problem is when I expect the rest of the world, including any mention of bad news anywhere, to leave me alone until I get a 2-month project finished.
Oh God, isn't that the truth? Is it, it would be so much easier if everybody wouldn't interrupt us when we have a plan, right?
Right.
That is so true. And, life is what happens when, we're not looking, right? So, yeah, I get that. And I guess that, the adaptation here is to expect some interruption of some kind and just plan around it. Like I know that's like the reno project it's if all things go well, this reno project's going to take 3 weeks. And the truth is, all things are not going to go well, and there's going to be disruptions and things go wrong, and supply chain issues, and manpower, labor issues, and there's going to be all these ways in which it doesn't work out exactly how you thought. And so, making space for that in the timeline, and accepting that there's going to be places where you have to pivot and shift is part of how you adapt. And yeah, it's very annoying. If the world would just, get the memo that I'm not available right now and I need to work on this and y'all leave me alone, that would be great. And yet they don't get that memo.
Yeah, but we are talking about decluttering our expectations. So yeah, that it may be that a place for self-reflection where we have to say,
being ignored for two
yes,
months is not realistic.
right. The world is going to come at me. People are gonna want to call me and talk about something that is on their mind, and we need to prepare ourselves, I guess, to be resilient enough to process that interruption and then get back to work.
And maybe it's also about, if you have to do focus work without interruption, then having time blocks around, okay, I can work for 2 hours here and I'm going to turn all the phones off and not going to respond to anybody. And then when the 2 hours is up, you have to stop and say, okay, I need to give the world a half an hour while I interact with it and respond to it and do things that maybe need my attention right now. And then I go back and do another time block. And so maybe it's not 100% uninterrupted time. It's uninterrupted time in smaller blocks interspersed with pausing to interact with the universe so that you can deflect, you can reassign, you can answer questions, you can send people off, you can plan to interact with them in another day, like whatever you need to do to keep up with the demands the universe is making of you outside of your plan, and make plans around them so that you can do it when it works for you instead of when they're coming at you. And so, yeah, like it's a hassle. I get it.
Terry says, sometimes if I haven't used something, it makes it harder to part with. I never did what I intended with it. I have to admit it was not a good choice. I start to consider if I should try to sell it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
An
it's like
upthought,
it's brand news. It's brand new and it came home and it never got used. So,
yeah. An upside is that it's in good condition to donate to someone else.
right? I would think about it that way. Like, I get it that you didn't get to use it, but if you give it away fresh in a box, then someone that finds it and ends up buying it from wherever in a resale environment is going to be super happy that it's brand new and it's in its box and it's never been opened. They're going to feel like they won a prize because they got a fresh brand new thing that clearly somebody bought and never used. And so think about what it's going to be like on the back end to find that pristine item in a place where most things are not pristine, and how much more special your item's going to be to them than the one that's been used already. And so you're just making somebody's life, you're giving them a thrill for the day when they find your box.
Deborah
Right?
says, when I've helped people declutter, it surprises me how long it takes. Also with my own things, but I am starting off with less in general.
Yeah. She said she's surprised that it takes when she works. Say that again about the other people. What was the
Um,
first sentence?
when I've helped other people declutter, it surprises me how long it takes.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. So, and you have no emotional attachment to their stuff. So maybe the expectation is it's going to go fast, except that you run into their emotional attachment to the stuff. And
Right.
so then you can't do it. You're coming at it from a place of neutrality. And so it makes it super easy. The stuff is just stuff to you. And then you are running into it's not just stuff to them. And so you're getting to watch yourself in action while you work on somebody else's stuff, right? What you're like when you're doing your own things.
Um, M says, after spending the entire day to declutter, there are meals to make and eat, ringing phone, people coming to the door, stopping to clean up dirt or accidents, drink water, dot, 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 feed the pets, etc.
Right? Yeah, there's always life that's going to happen when you stop decluttering. It's just like any other project. So you do have to bake that into the plan. Like you can't expect to work 10 hours a day and then, because you work 10 hours that day, the pets aren't going to want their dinner. So you do have to have
Right.
some time in the plan for you to live your life and feed your cats and, make the stuff happen, right?
Yeah, my dog does not understand the setting aside 90 minutes for deep work thing.
Yeah,
He's
he's
like,
like,
no,
yeah, I don't
no,
have
no,
time for
no.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not going to work.
And when I come home from like I have appointment boundaries, right? Like I work 10 to 1, 2 to 5. And so when I leave somebody's house at the end of the day, I've been to two clients, I've worked on projects all day, and sometimes they've been a challenge. They've been really physically demanding or they've been really emotionally difficult. And so sometimes I come home at the end of the day and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to sit down. I need it to be really quiet right now. And the cats are like, yeah, but it's 6 o'clock and I want dinner. They don't really care that I'm out of steam. But the truth is, you will be out of steam, and baking that into your plan so that you can still have dinner and, the kids still get put to bed is, it's part of planning for the day. You still have to give yourself a little bit of energy at the end so that you can do the other stuff you need to do. So much
Okay.
harder. It feels so much more draining to be cooking dinner when you're completely exhausted and you went way over your energy level and your resources, and then you still have to go do stuff like make food. And so, yeah, you got to plan for that.
All right, we are just about out of time. I think we may have to revisit this topic because
You
we
guys had a
got
lot to
so much good
say.
material that we haven't even been able to touch yet.
Yeah.
But we need to move on. We're going to be back next week at the usual time, Tuesday, July 14th. noon U.S. Central Time. And the topic is going to be stemming the inflow of clutter by setting firm and meaningful boundaries with other people. So I don't have a title for that yet, but watch your email for an announcement. Gayle, why don't you give us the title?
Okay, this week's weekly title is Update Your Expectations. This week's assignment is to revisit a project on which you fell short of your expectations. Identify a decluttering or organizing project that you left incomplete or never quite got off the ground. Think about the plan you made for the project and any expectations you set for yourself around it. Reflect on whether you might adjust your project plan to be more reasonable, to include more reasonable expectations or more achievable goals. Was time a factor in your not completing the project? Then increase the time that you allot for the project. Was physical energy or stamina a limiting factor? Then try breaking the project into smaller pieces. Were your goals for the project insufficiently clear and specific? Then choose some clear and specific endpoints for your revised project. And schedule one or more appointments to begin or resume work on your project this week. And see if you can't get yourself back into a project that you felt like collapsed from not meeting your expectations. And then come and tell us about it next week, because we want to know.
Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from our audience, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Especially now that it's working again.
I know, right? And I'm going to add to that, if you discover something that isn't working on the website, please drop me a note at ed@clutterfairyhouston.com.
So that we know and can fix things that got broken.
Track it down and fix it.
We have so many years of material, you guys know we do. And so it's a big project to get it all, making sure nothing's broken, all the links are working. So let us know. All right. I appreciate you guys joining us again. I hope that this topic was helpful. It was a little psychological exploration a bit, but I think that it's a good way to look at the project and change how you are thinking around it, so that you're not just feeling like you failed, the project failed, it can't be done. We just have to change your expectations around it so that it's more realistic. And this is what I spend all my professional life doing, is telling people realistically what it's going to take, and then watching them, cry or get angry about it. Yeah. And then we go about the business. So it can be done. And I know you can do it. I hope that you got something out of it. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.